Today I'm talking to Phil Shiner, who's a human rights lawyer and the head of public interest lawyers. They're representing a group of Iraqis who allege that coalition forces abused them during the occupation of Iraq. Phil Shiner, thank you very much for talking to RT. Now, you're taking a case to the High Court representing 142 Iraqis. Tell me what that's all about.
These Iraqi clients complain that over a period of time, the whole time that we were in Iraq, actually from March 2003 to December 2008, they complain of sensory deprivation with hoods or blacked out goggles or earmuffs, all sorts of sexual matters, various techniques designed to intimidate and coerce, including harshing where threats and insults are shouted directly into people's faces. A whole range of issues. There's a male rape, all sorts of very troubling aspects of the UK's interrogation policy, none of which has been fully explored.
And there's a sort of odd sexual element to a lot of these claims, isn't there? The sexualised nature of it. There's a lot to do with nakedness, some accusations of pornography having been used.
Yes, well, it's clear that the interrogation policy included a directive to always strip the Iraqi internees, forced nakedness, and keep them naked if they wouldn't cooperate. Now, this nakedness was to take place often in front of a group of soldiers who would be laughing, and sometimes women. So some of our clients refused to strip, so force was used to strip the Iraqis, and that then shades into other matters. So, for example, one of our clients complains that one of the soldiers straddled his back and masturbated on his back when he was naked. That kind of abuse can often follow from that struggle to strip our clients. But there are other aspects as well. So, for example, many of our clients complain that they were played loud, hardcore pornography all night, sometimes during Ramadan. Obviously, they were intended to render themselves unclean, or porn mags were left in the showers and the toilets, and they'd be observed to see how they reacted to that. Female and male soldiers and guards were having sex in front of our clients, masturbating in front of them, a whole range of sexual matters which are very troubling, and no one has got the beginning of an explanation as to what on earth was going on. This was all taking place within a secret compound, which was where the Joint Forward Interrogation Team was operating, and they were a compound within a compound answerable not to the military chain of command but to London, and no one seems to have gone anywhere near them by design. We're not aware that the Red Cross ever inspected the area that was the Joint Forward Interrogation Team, so they seem to have been able to do what they wanted, and one of the interrogators in the Bahamas inquiry gave evidence on the 26th of April of this year, saying that the only limits to coercion were the limits, the stretches of one's imagination. And you can see that very clearly in all of the complaints that are now being made.
But these are hugely serious allegations, aren't they, against British troops? What kind of evidence has been provided?
I should say they're against British soldiers and guards for sure, but a lot of these are being made against the interrogators. In terms of the evidence, well, the evidence is that the signed witness statements of all of these clients. And I have to say that not one of our clients has been found by any court or inquiry to be embellishing the truth, let alone lying. And there's absolutely no reason why they would make this up, because it's a matter of gross humiliation for a male Muslim to be subjected to these matters. I myself have no doubt that what they're saying is the truth, and there's a pattern. For example, in August 2006, at our main divisional internment facility at Shaiba Logistics Base, there were two incidents where interrogators have superimposed our clients' photographs onto horrific paedophilic images. Of one is a man having sex with a young girl, and another is a man having sex with a 10-year-old boy. Our client is sure it's a 10-year-old boy, and they've superimposed our clients' photographs on those images, printed them out and said, well, if you don't tell us what we want to know, then we're going to distribute these to your community and your family.
It's easy to imagine that these kinds of abuses could have been perpetrated by rogue elements in the armed forces, but in fact you're seeking to prove that this ill treatment is systemic in the armed forces.
There's no doubt that this is systemic within the interrogation policy, because we have those documents from the Bahamut inquiry. So we know, for example, that there was a policy of getting them naked, get them naked, keep them naked if they don't cooperate, the way in which they were to be searched, the harshing. We have that video, the training video, it's on the Bahamut inquiry website. These are clearly systemic issues, and it's absolute nonsense to suggest that this is a few bad apples. That's the interrogation policy, and it needs to be exposed, and we need to ensure that we never go into theatre again with an interrogation policy which is blatantly unlawful.
What kinds of people are these Iraqis that are making these allegations? Tell me a couple of their stories, how they came to be arrested, what happened to them.
Well, by and large, they're in their homes, usually asleep, with their wives, usually 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. The door is exploded open, 20 soldiers rush in. They're abused, cuffed, often rifle-butted, sometimes hooded, sometimes the women and children are abused. In 2 of our cases, pregnant women have miscarriages because they've been so badly abused. Our clients are Iraqis and civilians. They don't know what they've done. They're never told. They're never charged. And after days, weeks, months, years, they're eventually released, but not before they've been subjected to all of this abuse, kept in solitary confinement, deprived of food and water, deprived of sleep, etc., etc. But they all seem to be, by and large, Iraqi civilians who are going about their lawful business, and they've no idea what they've done wrong, and they still don't know what they've done wrong because no one ever told them, oh, you're going to be charged with X, Y and Z.
Allied forces, though, must be operating in a hugely difficult situation in that they were trying to eradicate an insurgency. Obviously, unpleasant means had to be used, but did they not contribute towards an end which was desirable?
Well, I wouldn't accept that for a minute. This isn't the heat of battle. This is the occupation. We're supposed to be running Iraq. We are the local and central administration. We are the police. We are training the judiciary. We are running the country. If we take Iraqi civilians into our custody and then over a period of weeks, months, subject them to that kind of ill treatment, there's absolutely no excuse for that whatsoever, unless you're suggesting that torture is not actually an absolute prohibition. Sometimes it's okay to use a bit of torture, which is just plainly unacceptable and is completely contrary to international law.
What's the objective of the case that you're bringing this week?
We want a single inquiry into the UK's detention and interrogation policies in Iraq across the board, get it over with, get it dealt with in public before a judge, find out exactly what was going wrong, who was responsible, which policies and practices need to be trained out and rewritten, and so we can all move on and all be assured that next time, if there is a next time where we go into a theatre like Iraq, our armed forces and our interrogators won't disgrace the nation by behaving in this way.
The UK is becoming known for lengthy and expensive inquiries. I'm thinking of the Bloody Sunday inquiry, which took 12 years, the Chilcot inquiry, which is still ongoing. Is there a chance that this, if you get what you want, could turn into one of those? I
doubt it very much. The Bahamut inquiry, the oral hearings commenced in September 2009, and it's all over in less than a year. there's absolutely no reason why something like this should become anything like a Bloody Sunday inquiry. The various sets of lawyers need to cooperate. The chair needs to have a sensible approach to how long each party is going to be heard in the Bahamas inquiry. The chair, Sir William Gage, allowed us and others 15 minutes only, and when you got to the end of your 15 minutes, that was that. There's no reason why, with some common sense and discipline, this needs to take anything longer than a couple of years or so.
It hasn't been plain sailing to get this far, to bring this case. You faced quite a lot of opposition over a number of years. In the past I've had death threats and powders and all sorts of things sent through the post, and the MOD has deliberately and systematically stirred that up, getting right-wing press to write horror stories, you know, shock horror shiner acts for people who've murdered UK soldiers as if it was all cut and dried, and he's using legal aid, etc., etc. But I think it's not got anywhere, because people can see that there's something gone badly wrong here, and slowly some elements of the press have turned away from the Minister of Defence and have started taking a more objective approach. There's a long way to go, because we live actually in quite a right-wing society with quite a right-wing press, and a lot of the press just follow the government line. But I think the penny's beginning to drop, and that people in high places within the Ministry of Defence, I think, are beginning to realise that the game's up. They're just not going to get away with this cover-up for much longer. You are the public interest lawyers. Do you think it's in the public's interest to spend public money proving that there is systemic corruption inside our armed forces?
I think it's in the public interest that if we go into a place like Iraq, supposedly to enforce the rule of law and principles of democracy, fairness and justice, good old-fashioned British principles, that we behave in accordance with that, and we haven't done. And I think it's in the public interest that that behaviour should be exposed and eradicated, and those who are responsible brought to account.
Phil Shiner, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.